Welcome back to our Bluesy Water channel. Today I'd like to do a follow-up video on working with the brain. This is a fairly multi-dimensional approach. There are various key areas that we need to focus on when we discuss the brain. Number one, the mind. And what is the mind, and how does it affect the brain, and how does it affect the entire body? This is kind of like a looping phenomena, because if you have subconscious trauma memories that cause blockages in the body, that in turn the brain is just part of the whole body complex. So when we think brain, the brain is receiving messages and is a feedback system, and obviously the brain is a part of where we store memory. It's a really mystery actually to where memories originate from. We think they're just in the brain, but the brain is like a receiver. So just think of it like the internet. You have cyberspace, and then you have the information landing on your computer. So the cyberspace of consciousness implies that there are memories stored in consciousness space, and then they come into you. So for instance, if you die, your children carry the same basic memories. They're born with a whole set of preloaded programs, and really as their life cycle goes on, many of the phenomena that play at a certain age play in every person in that generation. A key part of our teachings is the Ho'oponopono teachings, which talk about memories we're playing in the subconscious and how we have to clean those memories. So this is very, very vital to understand, and this is part of working at the brain. We'll show you when we get into the brain therapies. Another part is toxicity. For instance, if you have a lot of toxins in your colon, they can leak up into your brain. Brain can have parasites, the brain can have fungus, infections. Inflammation is another key issue. Inflammation is global to the body. So really, again, the brain is another organ, and we want to clean all the organs: the liver, the spleen, pancreas, the lungs, the colon. So the brain is another organ. Obviously, there is the nervous system, and there's the endocrine gland system and the microcirculation. So we have to consider all those. And there is a very deep emphasis in our therapies on the global cellular body. There's a lot of our recent therapies really are focusing on how do you get to every cell in the body and heal every cell. Particularly with aging, there's a breakdown in the cell integrity, and it becomes difficult to reach. We might take supplements, we think we're helping ourselves, but they actually don't get through. So there's an emphasis on how to do microcellular healing. All right, we're going to get into our chart and go over some of these therapies, and then we can put them in context. Okay, so as we talked about, the subconscious mind, which carries all these memories, is a huge component. And we have something here called the Trauma Release Program. And follow the link, Learn to Heal Emotional Trauma. So we have some actually showing on the chart in redundancy, but this is really a complete set of therapies. Now, let's just go through them briefly. The Breathe Like a Yogi for Dummies, which is also on the chart. Breathing mask right there. The reason this is so important is in all the traditions, breathing is considered a very vital component to healing. But from a physiology point of view, what this does is it allows the delivery of oxygen, more oxygen to the cells. Now, this is a simple teaching from Dr. Buteyko, where he discovered that people are deficient in CO2. CO2 potentiates oxygen delivery. It actually improves the hemoglobin exchange Most people, when they are stressed, they get rid of too much CO2 through overbreathing. He teaches a technique to how to go back to what's called normal breathing. And this is a shortcut actually to his method. So it makes it much easier. And you're able to recycle the CO2 back into the body and become a much more, become more oxygenated through this balancing of the CO2. So please read the blog and it'll explain. It's a very simple process. The net result is you feel more relaxed, your brain is clearer because it's getting way more oxygen. All right, so this is also on the chart, the PEMF therapy. This is essentially, to put it in a nutshell, you can read about this. This is a therapy that entrains every cell in your body. It's like a magnetic pumping system, much like an MRI. It goes right through you, and it can entrain your cells. It's, I call it magnetic hypnosis. So if you're anxious and stressed, you can't sleep, this will, you can set it to a low end frequency such as delta for sleep. It literally causes the entrainment of every cell in your body. That's the unique part about this therapy, is it can get to every cell. It's a magnetic pumping system that passes right through you, and you can set it to all kinds of frequencies. So this is very, very good for the nervous system. Trauma release exercises. Now we have several therapies that target the ability to essentially create like a wave dynamic through the spine, and the spine itself really gets into what we call the limbic nervous system, those primitive memories where we're feeling incredible trauma sense. We don't really know where the memories are coming from, and the spine can't relax, and the memories are just sort of frozen in the spine and the limbic brain. But one way to release the limbic system is trauma release exercises. This is a natural trembling mechanism that we rekindle. This is what animals do to release trauma. Chi machine with Theracane works, rocks the spine, moves, waves the spine, and then you can do self acupressure with the Theracane. Watch this video. You're accessing once again the unwinding of the spine, the limbic highway, so to speak. Memories are stored independently in the spine, primitive memories, and in the brain. The limbic brain is where you have that really primitive, I'm going to get eaten by a lion sensation. Vibration machine is another way to tremble the entire nervous system. This is probably one of the best therapies globally. Using this vibration machine and this rapid release tool with it, it's a self bodywork protocol, intense vibration, self-treating on many levels. This crossovers into working on the brain, the nervous system, detoxification, obviously trauma release. You can access the lymph, the organs, the connective tissue, meridians, chakras. Amazing, deep therapy. And if you do the machine with the rapid release, which is a site-specific vibrational tool, you could become a high-level self-bodywork person. EMDR, EFT, we threw that in there because these are known trauma therapies to help with brain trauma. And then this is part of our detoxification, which is critical, like we brought that up. And then it's another detox relaxation process, the bath. This we're going to discuss for a bit later on in this video. So there's overlap, obviously. If you think trauma, you think the brain. The brain is the big record keeper of trauma memories. And there's spiritual work like the emotion code and Ho'oponopono. And we just have a very, very large array of therapies. But the ones to really focus on are probably at the top here. And these are the core therapies, 1 through 6, I would say. But then I would also say, please understand the consciousness work, processes, and then they're all important. But these are like the 1 through 6 are really sort of getting more at the guts. All right, let's go back to the chart. Detox Anti-microbial. Okay, so this is the second program. If you're full of poison and it leaks into your brain, you know, this is just a no-brainer. So it isn't as though the poison is contained in one area of the body. You can have sinus infection get to the brain. You can have leaky gut go to the brain. So this entire program is pretty straightforward. There's a combination of protocols, both to get rid of the microbes, get rid of the heavy metals and chemicals, and to keep the system pumping and flushing. Much like a hot tub or a swimming pool, you have to have a pump, you have to have filters. Just like a hot tub, you have an ozone device, you have pumps, you have filters. So it's similar to the body. The body is a closed system, much like a hot tub, and we need to have pumps, we need to have products that go into the body and pull out the toxins. It's very important when you do go after toxins to have this ongoing pump filter system. Common sense, if you have a hot tub and a swimming pool, common sense goes out the window when it comes to your own body. But this, reclaim it, because this can save you a lot of misery if you understand how all this works together. Okay, so once again, we have like major categorical programs at the top, and then within those programs, there's repetition. High frequency vortex electrostatic charge therapy, that's a mouthful, is a key part of this antimicrobial program. This is another cellular therapy. You literally can get to every cell, cause it to clean out the cell. It'll work on pathogens big time, and it activates a lot of cellular healing. So we call this a cellular therapy, integral to this program, really integral to this program, because the trauma loops are actually broken with this therapy. It actually helps break trauma-free formations. It's imperative that you get a sense that if you have a memory, like a virus in a computer, meditate. What is a virus? Why is it causing havoc? It's a program of the sort, but what does it do to your system? Causes it to freeze. A virus in a computer will cause it to be sluggish. You know you have a virus when all of a sudden things are acting weird. You can't, you know, everything's slowing down. So you get to know trauma memory loops by the sense that they're grabbing on and they're causing some type of impedance in your whole field of consciousness and your body. It's so important to understand that a lot of these therapies are working at that level of consciousness. HHO, this is Brown's gas or hydrogen therapy. This is a combination of hydrogen, oxygen, and what's called electrically expanded water, which is a plasma form of water. Very profound, probably the deepest microcellular therapy, because the hydrogen molecule is the smallest, tiniest molecule, gets everywhere in the body, and we are deficient in hydrogen. And when we breathe hydrogen and drink the water, it is incredibly revitalizing on every cell in the body, very relaxing. Along with the PEMF, you can start to breathe this and just want to take a nice little nap. Creates a tremendous healing. Again, hard to get to cells, especially when you get older, and this permeates through the most compromised structures. It will get to every cell regardless of the condition. So if you have a real compromise in the brain, this will seep into every brain cell. Now it takes time to heal, but this is one therapy that will get to every cell. And then if you combine it with this therapy, for instance, which gets to every cell, and this therapy, which is very cell permeable, now you have 3 therapies rolled into one. And now you can start to reverse pretty much what would look like cell death. And the major, you know, Alzheimer's, dementia, the neurological diseases like Parkinson's, it seems, you know, people have strokes. It seems like there's no road back. So if you do these 3 therapies, PEMF, hydrogen, and the high frequency vortex, the one other one that's permeable is literally you would put medical ozone through the ears and it would seep into your brain and creates incredible healing. You can also go systemic through the rectal insufflation, goes into the blood, and then you can hit the sinus cavity with the nasal. So this is extremely permeable, extremely activating. And these 2 therapies, the high frequency vortex electrostatic charge and ozone, are derived from the same source, lightning. The ozone is made by corona discharge, which is lightning strikes in a machine. So you electrify the oxygen and you infuse it into the body, and you go strategically. When you go through the ears, you get to the brain. High frequency vortex electrostatic charge therapy is literally putting lightning into the body. It's a cyclonic, it's almost, the analogy I give is like sitting in a lightning storm and not getting electrocuted. So lightning, incredible. Hydrogen, the primordial element of the universe, incredible. Oxygen, obviously, we know is vital. And this magnetic entrainment magnetism is a vital component of our alchemic being. Okay, so we have the vibration therapy program as part of the trauma release program. Once again, working on the limbic system, the breathing mask, part of the trauma release. We've discussed that already. We saw photobiomodulation within the trauma release program. This is worth mentioning because it's another way to infuse the cell with light, near infrared light. It goes literally up through the nose, and you wear a helmet. So it's what they call transcranial and intranasal light going to the brain cells, and this is a catalytic therapy, much like this is. These are both very catalytic on the cell. Catalytic meaning that it triggers a healing response when the light hits the cell. Now this goes more like in layers, because it doesn't, the light near infrared doesn't travel very far, so think of it more like a sucker hose effect. It'll hit a layer, then go down and down. So much like a sucker hose in a garden. Cranial electrotherapy stimulation is simply an entrainment through the vagus nerve. There's a whole bunch of research on this. You put these clips on your ears, which hit the vagus nerve, and you're sending a frequency straight into the vagus nerve, which causes a relaxation, healing response. The vagus nerve goes from deep within the brain down to the gut, and it creates a global unwinding or relaxation. And as a result, they found many conditions can be reversed, alleviated. There's a whole pecking order with all these therapies. You know, you would say, okay, which one is the strongest? Well, there's some that are definitely whole body global. Again, I think you have to think more in terms of what are the core things you're focusing on. So like I said, if let's say you're focusing on the subconscious mind, but your body is frozen and you don't go after the trauma freeze, well, you're never really going to get to the trauma memories. The body is like saying, start here, listen to the messages, work with unwinding the trauma in the body, and then you'll kind of backdraft. You'll back up into the mind or the subconscious mind. The nebulizer is a very straightforward practice. It is a simple way to breathe in. You can put like essential oils or a bluesy boost mixture into the nebulizer, and that will become atomized, much like breathing essential oils through a diffuser. It gets atomized, seeps into the brain, the lungs, and the sinuses. So it's just a simple atomization cleansing process. E-power with electroacupuncture, similar to this therapy, both are electrostatic charge therapies. We consider this superior, but we have this on here because, number one, it's more well known in this universe of electrostatic charge therapy. So take a look at it. If there's more really support information videos. So once you understand this, go to this one. Virtually very little literature on this. Full spectrum lighting is follow this link, and this is a company that makes it's basically sunlight, indoor sunlight. We call it happy light. It just mimics sunlight, and you just shine it on. You know, people live in let's say people live in really cloudy climates, have what's called SAD disease, seasonal affect disorder. This is light therapy, like being in the sun. Photobiomodulation, also very similar, literally shining light deep in the brain. So you feel like you need light in the brain. You know, it's interesting, light and sound. So if you take this full spectrum lighting therapy and you take the Photobiomodulation Therapy, that's light in the brain. And the cranial electrotherapy stimulation is sound in the brain. And this is targeting straight on the vagus nerve. This literally hits every cell. So sound and light, very powerful. And you have the gaseous therapies, which are very permeable, like hydrogen and the ozone. So that's gas. And then you have lightning, which is another alchemy, which of course, light. The word light is enlightening. So lightning, hydrogen, these alchemies, these primitive alchemies. Our bluesy water product is made from mimicking a volcanic event, so it's another alchemic therapy. And then CO2, another gas, being very, very important to allow the oxygen to get deep in your brain. So you can see that there's very, very profound alchemies. So this is a basic overview. Think globally and then dial in from that global perspective and see what your needs are. If you're very, very toxic, if you have a lot of infection, absolutely critical to relieve brain issues. If you have a lot of trauma, please stay focused over and over, but don't then ignore the consequential cellular damage that might have taken place over years. So then get on the cell rejuvenation, but don't just stay on cell rejuvenation. Continually work at the trauma, work at the cells. So do your global therapies, do your specific therapies, and keep your multi-dimensional view at all times. Ask yourself, you have a sense of trauma, there are memories playing. Okay, that's going on. If you feel toxic, you have a sense of being toxic. Some people will start to realize they're toxic when they start to detoxify. In other words, you never open up the door to the room and then you open up and go, oh my God, I need to clean it. In a sense, with the body, that's how it works. If you start to do some of these, let's say the high vortex therapy, this therapy here, the high vortex electrostatic charge therapy, you really will enter the universe of detoxification. In other words, you'll start to feel the toxicity emerge, and then you have to make sure you're doing this program to support the awakening. So it's much like opening up the door to a dirty room. Keep the door closed, no problem, right? Well, we do that internally with our bodies. Unfortunately, sometimes the door blows open and oh my God. Alrighty, so keep that again, global perspective, subconscious memories, toxins, that's why they're 1 and 2 here, and then break it down into all these therapies. May understand that once again, if you're compromised at the cell level, you need therapies that functionally can get to the cells. So please stay in this integrative approach and you'll have way better success healing your brain. If you have any questions, I want to strategically set up a subclinical protocol at home. And one other thing that this subclinical protocol, so to speak, for the brain becomes a global program for the entire body. So if you set the trauma release protocol into place, the Detox Anti-microbial, you're very well on your way to having a whole clinic approach. Okay, so the good news is with any health issue, it's always an opportunity to go deep and to truly learn the bigger strokes, and try not to get sidetracked into believing, oh, if I do this one therapy, it's going to do everything. Please keep these critical influences that we discussed in mind at all times. And I hate to be like a broken record, but so many people are just misled into a standalone approach. Either just like, okay, just do all this prayer work, and they're totally screwed up systemically with toxins. So it's not one or the other, it's all. Everything needs to be considered. Continually ask yourself, what are the influences that are causing this problem? Continually develop skill sets in these different arenas and you'll just improve dramatically. Appreciate it. Any questions, please contact me, Andrew at bluesywater.com. Thank you.